Every country on Earth is in debt, not just developing nations, not just fragile economies. The United States now owes more than $38 trillion, the highest figure in its history. The European Union carries over 14 trillion, Japan nearly 9 trillion, even oil-rich nations, even export powerhouses like Germany and China, all owe enormous sums. But here is the paradox. If everyone owes money, who exactly is being owed? This is not a conspiracy, it is not a theory, it is a historical reality, one that quietly governs the modern world. And to understand today's economy, you must first understand debt itself. For a moment, consider this. Debt today is not an exception, it is the foundation. Governments borrow to operate. Corporations borrow to grow. Households borrow to survive. Global debt has surpassed $300 trillion. That number is difficult to imagine. Because it no longer represents physical money, it represents promises, promises to repay, promises to the future. Every new dollar introduced into the system is born as debt, not backed by gold, not backed by assets, but backed by obligation. And this changes everything. Most people believe money is neutral, something that simply exists, something printed, counted, exchanged. But modern money is not a thing, it is a relationship between borrower and lender, between power and obligation. When money is created, someone somewhere owes it back, with interest. This is the invisible side of money, the part rarely discussed, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Debt is not a flaw in the system, it is the system. Modern economies do not grow by producing first and borrowing later. They borrow first, then attempt to grow fast enough to repay. This creates a permanent cycle. More borrowing requires more growth. More growth requires more borrowing, and when growth slows, the system strains. This is why crises are not accidents, they are corrections. To understand this system, we must go back to the year 1694. England was at war, the crown was broke, so a new idea emerged. Instead of taxing immediately, the government would borrow. Private lenders funded the state. In return, they earned interest. And something revolutionary happened. The Bank of England was born. For the first time, a nation institutionalized debt. From that moment on, governments no longer needed money to exist. They needed credibility. This changed the balance of power. Kings became dependent on creditors. States became dependent on banks. Debt transformed from a tool into leverage. Those who controlled credit controlled policy, not through force, but through necessity. This was not corruption, it was structure, and it spread. Today the system is global. Central banks issue currency. Commercial banks multiply it. Governments borrow to pay old debt. New debt replaces old promises. This loop never stops, because stopping would mean collapse. So the solution is always the same. More liquidity, lower rates, more borrowing. Time is bought, but never repaid. Here is the core problem. Debt requires interest. But interest is not created with the principal. This means the system always needs more money tomorrow than exists today. To survive, debt must expand. This is why debt can never truly be paid off. Only rolled forward, only delayed. The future is permanently mortgaged to sustain the present. This does not mean collapse is inevitable, but it does mean awareness is essential. Debt is not evil, but it is powerful, and power shapes behavior. The modern world is not broken, it is operating exactly as designed. The question is not whether debt exists. The question is who controls it, and who pays the price.